Fiona Frawley. You're very welcome back to Flop Culture. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me back. I'm good. I'm pretty good.
You're pretty
How
good.
Are you getting on?
You came to me with this, and I think it's a great topic. We often look at celebrities or influential people in culture and look at maybe a specific time in which they were flopping. We did J-Lo recently because she's in the thick of it. Thinking about you, J-Lo. Hope you're okay, hon. Some fools in this town. And you came to me with this suggestion, which I think is really interesting because I think we are witnessing another flop era ongoing with someone in particular. Who had you picked?
It's the Kardashian dynasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Jenners, it's the entire extended family.
Yeah.
For many reasons. Some reasons that just their own fans are sick of them and like feel like they're not being genuine anymore and not offering them what they once did in terms of like messy reality. And then politically in the world, it's just not relevant to people anymore, and in fact it's angering people because they're just like, what the fuck is this when the world is literally on fire? So like I think it's coming at them for a few reasons, and yeah, it's interesting.
They're an interesting like figure in this. Obviously we'll talk specifically what we're on about politically. I think it should be very obvious to people, but they've always been a polarizing family as individual figures. They've all been polarizing with the exception of like, I don't know, Kendall, because can you have strong feelings about Kendall Jenner? I'm not really sure, but like Kim kind of being the focus as being like really, really divisive. But it kind of seemed like the diehards would ride for them no matter what, loved the reality show, bought into Skims, bought into any of the products, like followed them. And I've noticed in the last few weeks, like I would have a friend who I'm not going to name, but we've had like very honest conversations about the fact that, and she's kind of come to me and been like, how are you finding being able to engage with celebrity culture when like the world is quite literally on fire in so many ways? And she's a huge Kardashian fan, loves, did all the things I just listed out, and said she's like blocked them all, unfollowed them all, doesn't like unsubscribe to whatever newsletter, like I don't think she could cancel Disney Plus for whatever reason, but like isn't watching the show anymore, isn't engaging with any of the content anymore. And when I say this is someone who followed them everywhere to whatever point, like when did this start in your opinion? Is there a clear point or is it a bit more muddled?
I think it's a bit muddled, but there's been some key moments that you can point out. So I think like a good place to start is their diehards and like why they are falling off, and then like we can move on to why more casual viewers are like, fuck off.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, can I ask, would you consider yourself a lapsed diehard or just anyone? Like the most recent content of theirs that I engaged with was the Courtney Travis wedding thing. And I actually genuinely found that like quite interesting as someone who has watched from the outside and hasn't really engaged with the show probably even before it moved to Disney Plus / Hulu. So like where do you kind of fall in the spectrum?
I'd say I'd be casual, but like in any, like I love messiness and I love like reality TV messiness. I'd be dipping in and out, but I wouldn't have watched straight through Keeping Up.
Yeah.
I'd be aware of the like iconic moments. I would have followed them on Instagram. I watched I think the first season of The Kardashians, and then after that I probably just watched bits on TikTok. So I wouldn't be,
I think, what are we on? Season 3, season 4?
So. I think it might even be 4. I could be wrong. No one checked.
Yeah, it's fine. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so in your opinion, when was it that the diehards fell off, or when does this all start in your brain?
I think, so for the diehards, I'd say maybe towards the end of season. Obviously, there was so much buzz around the first season of The Kardashians, and maybe they got away with it for the first season, but I think coming into season 2, it was like starting to become clear to everyone that like each episode was just an hour-long ad for each of their various products. And like the reason that people liked the Kardashians before, there's a guy on TikTok, Paddy Pop Culture, he puts this really well, that like even back in the early Keeping Up days, they were an unrelatable family for how rich they were, of course, but they were relatable in terms of their messiness and just how much unflattering and like not good aspects that they showed people. It was like they were giving viewers more than they were taking. But that's just not the case anymore. They're like really holding back. They're kind of like almost operating with like a royal family, what's the word? Never complain, never explain vibe. They
Yeah.
don't want to talk about their relationships. They don't want to, like, too much. And the fact that they are producing the Kardashians, it's just like, and in a way, I'm conflicted because I'm like, power to you if you are like finally in control of your own life and you're not like a slave to this reality show that's gonna like exploit you and whatever. But then I'm like, your fans have bought in with an understanding that that's what you do.
Yeah.
So you can't have it both ways. Like,
Yeah.
you can't expect fans to still follow along when everything that you put out is so curated and not honest, which, like, in like a number of ways it's been proven to be not honest, whether it's been like the quality of their products or whether it's been their storylines or whether it's been lying about their wealth, lying about Instagram followers. I saw a thing that apparently half of Kim's like 300 million Instagram followers are fake, which I'll find the exact article about it. But yeah, so they're just not being honest in loads of ways. Maybe they were never being honest, but they were doing a better job at hiding it. So I think that's why a lot of their diehard fans are falling off. Another reason is obviously, like, in the 2010s, whatever, they set this beauty standard of like, by Hollywood standards, thick, curvy girls, like big booty, big titties, like that welcomed a cohort of fans in that might have not felt represented otherwise. And now they have abandoned that beauty standard, got their bits removed. And I suppose maybe people or women who followed them for that reason feel abandoned now because, like, they're literally just saying that that's not up to standard anymore. They've physically removed it from themselves. And it's like, what's that saying? And like, that's another issue with celeb culture, I suppose, that like you have that much influence that if you make a personal decision about what you want to do with your body, you're responsible for a lot of people, or you have to answer for a lot of people for that. Like when Adele lost weight, that it was like, you're not representing like
Yeah.
big girls anymore. Like that's, I guess, an issue in itself. But for the Kardashians, I think they chose to want to set the beauty standard.
Oh,
So-
100%. And it's something they're so aware of now and will continue to be aware of. Like everything they do, maybe less so now, and they are certainly less influential and it's happening less. But they were trendsetters and trend makers for whether it was hair, like Kim going
Lips.
blonde,
Yeah.
lips, everything. Like,
Yeah. Like, speaking of hair, like that's one thing that like Kim, I feel like she can't win at the mo. Like when she went blonde for the Met Gala, everyone was like slating her. They were like, you did not choose to have that hair, that like wet look that's clearly a hair mask. And like, it's cut so short because it's obviously so damaged. And they're like, she's trying to pass that off. Like, this is just a stupid thing. But like, it's just like, people are sick of them. Like, they're like, you can't pass off that hairstyle as a choice. You clearly fucked up your hair. And I'm like, God, she can't win. Not that I have any sympathy for her, but I just thought it was a like funny thing to troll her on.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing because before I think they would have gotten away with,
Yeah.
not gotten away or whatever, but like you would have had the apologists then being like, oh my God, slay, whatever. Whereas you have like the kind of, what you call it, like the bystanders who never really cared now, so like very much caring about how apathetic they are and about how like overexposed they are and about how it goes back to that thing of them not being honest and I suppose being borderline deceitful about things.
Yes. Yeah. Because like there's been a lot of talk. I don't know if you follow this guy on TikTok or if he pops up for you. You know, the guy who's like, I have a master's in marketing and here's why
No.
Kylie's skin will be bankrupt in 2 years, whatever.
No, but I love those videos where they're just like, they're convinced about things and I'm like, yeah, absolutely,
Yes.
tell me because you have a degree in something. Yeah,
Exactly.
please.
He also apparently has a master's in herbology, and that's why he knows that let me chill and let me sleep is going to flop in 2 years. Well, anyway, he's gas. He's very qualified, as
Right.
so many Americans
Yeah.
are. But anyway, there was like they have no free time. They're flat out wall to wall hobbies.
Just so studious.
God bless.
God bless.
But I think they feel like they have to make up for the perception that
Yeah,
they're
I
done.
mean,
anyway, not to alienate any American listeners Hey, but like this was, I mean, I wasn't too aware of this at the time. The whole like Kylie's lip kits, and I mean, I do remember obviously the Kylie lip challenge. Do you remember that? Like where girls were like going into like Hoovers, shot glasses,
Yeah.
everything, and like doing permanent damage. And so at this time, I mean, I remember her apology and stuff. Kylie hadn't been honest that she'd gotten filler. I mean, it's quite obvious to everyone, but maybe this is back at a time where filler wasn't that big because again, she probably started the trend
This
of
is the
fillers.
thing. I really like. I don't think it was.
Yeah,
Like I think that, and I mean Love Island to a degree, but then like
course,
it's so hard to pinpoint patient's ear or whatever. But like it probably, because I was about to be like, was it social media informing Love Island contestants or was it Love Island contestants informing social media? It was probably a
Yeah.
symbiotic thing. But like Kylie probably was, because I remember. And again, this is only going to apply for the people who are at that kind of influential age, but like so desperately wanting to replicate that specific nude lip, not wanting to get the MAC one or not being able to afford the MAC one, and apparently hearing like that it was Nick's whipped caviar was like a dead ringer. And I had like 45 of them, but like trying to go around to the pharmacies to try and get them because they were out of stock. Like it was just, it was a thing. Like it was nuts.
Oh
Just
God,
so
yeah,
nuts.
yeah, and like so yeah, everyone was trying to replicate this, and she wasn't being honest that she'd had fillers.
Yeah.
She was like, the reason my lips look like this is because I've used Kylie lip kits, and yours will too if you use them. And then when she obviously had to come out and admit she had fillers, I think I didn't like realize the weight of that because I was probably a little bit older when Kylie lip kits came out, so I wasn't. I didn't feel too influenced by them. I was like, I don't have that need to go out and buy these. So I didn't feel betrayed. I didn't hugely care. But of course, if you were like, I'm going to hell or high water to try and get these products, they're expensive for me. I'm putting my lips into shot glasses and getting sent to the emergency room. Like, and then you find out that, yeah, she had fillers all along. That's a huge betrayal.
Yeah.
Especially when I think Kylie's fans in particular saw her as the maybe realist one because she was silly and was like doing these like funny, big air quotes around all of these funny videos online, and like she was like Tumblr girly, and I think like the younger generation felt like they connected to her in that way, and then it was like this huge betrayal. Like,
but I think she was able to spin out of it in a way because at that time it was very much positioned as, I felt insecure about my lips, so I did this, and then I couldn't admit it. Like I remember not being like active. I'm sure, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure there were, but like I remember not being like actively annoyed about it.
Yes.
And I look back, and again, maybe it's time and an age thing where I look back now and I'm like, look, maybe it wasn't you calling the fucking shots there because at the end of the day you were 17 or whatever, but like it was your borderline evil mom saying, we can spin this and make this a company for you. You know what I mean? It was. They'd never get away with it now. They'd literally, but like, it's interesting because you have like on the most recent season then, and again, I only know this because it is still covered on social media, where Kylie's talking about how insecure she is about how she looks and how she can't believe how she has any self-esteem left because of how she's torn apart publicly.
Yeah.
But then it goes back to the thing of, like, take her at her word. You felt insecure about your lips.
yeah.
But like, do we then not need to look at your older sisters and go back to that very beauty standard that we're talking about that they just set?
Yes.
Like the calls coming from inside the house, babe.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, but I completely agree. And I, by the way, would never like villainize. At the time I wasn't mad. Now I'm not hugely mad like that she did this. But I think it's coming to a head now. And because the Kardashians, like, because they're, on the way out allegedly in other ways, I think people are like, yeah, and remember this with Kylie, like when all that happened. And I think people are like retrospectively angry at it. But yeah, as you say, she was 17. As you say, there's you can't, I think, talk about this without acknowledging the pressure the family face from outside and like the hate they get and the trolling, like for Chloe, for whatever.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm flap culture listeners will obviously get this, but like there's a difference between not engaging with content from a particular family or like, again, not liking the family, not liking what they stand for, not liking the show, not wanting to engage in any of it because you actively don't like it.
Yeah.
And being like, a misogynistic troll.
Yes,
you know?
exactly. Like, I think the Kardashians, like, the whole idea of them is, like, deeply flawed, and it's very understandable that people would be angry at it. Would I encourage targeting specifically one of them and, like, making hateful comments about their appearance? No, I wouldn't,
No.
like, say do that to anyone. And to be fair, in the, like, discourse that's, like, on TikTok at the moment, no one's really doing that. But, like, it, you know,
No, it definitely is a thing of people, I don't know, all of us collectively waking up and just being like, we can't buy any of this anymore. Like,
No.
none of it feels real. None of it
Yeah.
feels genuine. As you said, it all feels very sales pitchy, very
Yeah.
like pushed towards consumerism, and it always has been. But like, where they were able to give the personality in the early years, we have none of that now.
Exactly.
And then, as you said, you look at what's going on politically around the rest of the world, and consider how much influence this family has, and how
Yeah.
much it's not been utilised.
Exactly.
Or maybe it is being utilised in other ways that are like bad.
Yeah.
Shall we say? I think it's hard for people to kind of turn a blind eye.
Turn a
then.
blind eye anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah. Okay. So that's, yeah. So let's say that's the fans who wouldn't be politically engaged, or who wouldn't care about, like, you know, what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Israel. Like, that's, say, them bookmarked and, like, or bookended, and why they would have an issue or, like, not be
Yeah.
interested in the Kardashians anymore. Now, more casual fans who are scrolling through Instagram, and they are, like, following, you know, they're, like, getting wise to what's happening in Gaza. They're seeing videos of literally, like, the worst scenes imaginable. Like, you know, I won't, like, hugely go into it. Like, you know what
Yeah.
they are. And then they're scrolling down, and it's Kim, you know, posting about a Skims bra with built-in nipples. And it's like, it is feeling like the Hunger Games. It's feeling like, is this real? And, like, people are seeing what the likes of, like, Baisan and, like, before they left, like, Plestia and Motaz are, like, sharing in Gaza, and, like, putting their lives at risk. I mean, their lives are at risk anyway, but by sharing what's happening, they're putting more of a target on their backs. And, like, you can't look at that content, actually actively consume it, and then go back to looking at some shite from the Kardashians and not feel like, wait, what's happening in this world? What do I care about? Like, these structures that, like, I've trusted my whole life don't serve these people. They don't serve me. Like, people are becoming radicalized, and rightly so. Like, you couldn't look at this stuff and not. And, like, you know, in America now, there's been, like, the student encampments, like, where college kids are, like, facing, like, violence from the police. Like, it's not just, like, you know, we're relatively safe to protest here in Ireland, thank God, but, like, elsewhere in the world, it's really dangerous. And, like police brutality full on is being used by, like, people who are trying to peacefully protest against, you know, hell on earth that's happening in Gaza. There was, like, I saw a video recently of Harvard college graduates, and, like, as they went up to collect their cert or whatever, they all had, like, Free Palestine posters, like, end the genocide, blah blah blah. So it's like, that's what's happening to young people in the US at the moment, and I think that's really monumental, especially because it's such a capitalist power, and I don't think people have been, like, radicalized in that way in our lifetime, maybe not. So it's just like, people are really looking at capitalism as a structure, especially because they're engaging in boycotts, and they're like, right, I'm boycotting McDonald's and Burger King. They're like, okay, where else will I get my takeaway? And then it's like, all these other massive conglomerates are problematic too. And then people are, you know, having deeper discussions or deeper thoughts themselves about, like, what is capitalism? Does it serve any of us? Are any of us ultimately, like, safe in this world? I don't know, maybe not many people are but I think they are. And then it's like, the Kardashians are, like, the ultimate symbol of capitalism. And it's just like, who cares anymore? Literally, there are people that are dying, Kim.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, it's very hard to have space to care about that.
Do you know what I saw a couple of weeks ago that made me think about this? And it was like, at this point, we were probably months into what was going on in Palestine and the genocide. And it was, I think it was someone else that had sent to me. I think it was that friend that had asked me about engaging with celebrity culture, who's like an ex kind of Kardashian stan or whatever, had sent, it was this like photo set that Kim had put up of her getting a coffee, I think with a Cybertruck or some fucking Tesla, something, I don't know, very kind of standard Kim content, if you have followed, you know, like fucking, she's out and about and she's whatever. But it was at a Starbucks, but obviously like Starbucks like wasn't tagged, there was no like hashtag ad, hashtag spawn, whatever. But like, it's so clear it's a Starbucks. The cup is a Starbucks. And obviously Starbucks is one of the brands that is we're being asked to boycott. And she sent it to me being like, this has to be, and now again, this is our own opinions. We're not saying whatever, we've absolutely no proof.
Yeah, we're all
like,
safe
she was
here.
like, we're all safer. She was like, this is Spawn. Like, I was like, yeah, no, like, I'd say this is like the whatever the Spawn kind of equivalent is of a pap walk, where it was like Starbucks are like, oh my God, we're really taking some heat here. This is what we'll do. We'll get Kim to go and she'll take a few photos.
Yeah.
And just have it that it's like, you know, that fucking subliminal messaging nearly, I suppose, where it's like, oh God, I'm gasping, I want to go get a coffee. You know what I mean? Like it's, or like Kim's getting a coffee, so it's grand.
Exactly.
Oh, it's so, the whole thing is just like nefarious. What is the other word? Like, as you say, we were saying this before we came to air, like how intrinsic the Kardashians are to society. It's like they're kind of inescapable in so many ways. Like it's
against your will, you know stuff about them.
Yeah.
Like when you're like, oh, I don't know too much about this. As soon as you start talking, you're like, fuck, I am mad about how much I know about these bitches. No offense. Well, yeah, a bit of offense. Like, but so the Starbucks thing, like nothing a Kardashian puts on their Instagram is by accident.
Yeah.
Like, you know, of course that was strategic, planned out meticulously with Starbucks. And no, like she doesn't have to, I guess, declare that it's an ad if she's not, like whatever. I'm sure they found ways around it. But yeah, it's just what they could be using their influence for. I mean, this is like so heavily discussed at this stage. Like, I mean, there's people with a far less following than them, with a lot more to lose, who are a lot earlier on in their career, who are really like taking a risk and, you know, putting themselves out to stand with Palestine and to say no to gigs, to say no to sponsorship deals. And like, that's what people want at the moment. At the end of the day, like if you're a consumer, you're spending your fucking hard-earned cash to like buy tickets or buy records or buy whatever. There is a cause he lives, and it's like you don't want to really give money to someone who you feel like would fuck you over in a second to add to their own insane fortune.
Inordinate
like,
wealth, yeah.
You know, and I think, yeah, people are just sick of it. And like, Kim, you're not dumb. We all watched you train for and pass the bar. We watched you, like, you know, use your influence to get people off death row. So you can't play dumb or act like you don't know what's going on. Like, you know, legally, what's happening in Gaza is huge. It's like, you know, war crimes. They're being tried in the International Criminal Court. Like, it's like legal stuff is going on. You claim that that's your area that you've always been interested in. You are like mad for a bit of justice. You spoke out about the genocide in Armenia before. So this is quite your bag. But now you are just quiet to it. And a lot of celebrities who claim to be, you know, what's the word, like social justice warriors or like caring about world peace or whatever, we're looking at you, Bono, are silent on this issue because, like, to speak out about Israel is to like piss off your American fans, is to lose a huge amount of your capital, your support, your financial, whatever. So it's very telling. And it's like, okay, so is any of what you've been saying actually real? Do you care about any of this? Yeah. And then there is some things that Kim has literally said on Palestine. Like, she hasn't just been silent, but the things that she has said are extremely dodgy. First, after October 7th, she put out a tweet that just said praying for Israel, whatever. And then she was obviously getting a lot of hate for that. She commented underneath saying, praying for everyone in Palestine and across the world, which is really typically how people talk about Palestine. Like they won't just, they have to like add it into and around the world, but it's never that way for Israel. It's a completely different standard. And it's like, well, it's like as if saying, well, them and everyone, of course, as if like what they're going through isn't the worst thing. It's like an all lives matter kind of thing. Anyway, she ended up deleting both the tweets and apologizing on her blog, which I'm like, who even knows she has a blog? Who's checking
Kimberly,
blog?
who's fucking writing blog? What are you on about? I can't believe they still have those going.
Yeah, and I'm like,
sorry, I should say I'm all for the medium of writing, needless to say.
Of
but
course.
Like, that's sorry, you know it's bad when they're deploying out the fucking KimKardashian.org. Like,
right. I'm like,
oh my God.
When was your last post on this? Like 2010, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's obviously a very strategic choice to not apologize about that on Twitter or on Instagram. It's you want to erase that it ever happened. But if someone came to you, you want to say, well, I did address it here in this blog that no one even knows exists. Yeah. So the second thing, she was on her TikTok with North and they were on an Instagram or like a TikTok live. I don't know if you saw this. And there was like loads of comments coming in that were just like loads of Palestinian flags. And North goes, what's that flag? And Kim pauses and goes, it's the Brazilian flag because we're talking about soccer stuff. And like,
oh my God.
To give the benefit of the doubt, I'm like, maybe there was a lag in like how the comments were coming in. Maybe there genuinely was a Brazilian flag. I'm just saying that for argument's sake.
You're very generous in the benefit of the doubt that you're giving there, I will say.
I don't think that's the case, but like, I'm just like, whatever. And then people in the comments are like, she was doing that to protect North, to like not have the conversation with her on the air. And I'm like, this is the issue. I'm like, why is everyone so afraid to speak about Palestine? Why would it be a political thing to say that's a Palestinian flag? It's like as if it's like their flag has become a symbol of quote unquote terrorism. It's like, it's a flag. It's their nationality. Like, it shouldn't be political to say that's a Palestinian flag. You're not saying anything one way or the other. It's like that shouldn't be controversial to say. You're Kim Kardashian. You're not gonna like whatever you would lose relative to what's happening would not be that big a deal if you just said it's a Palestinian flag to your daughter. Like,
she said something similar then again at some conference or something where someone in the audience was like, what did she say? They said free, in the audience they said free Palestine, and then she replied and said free everybody.
Free
again,
everybody.
we're going back to the all lives matter. I care about everyone, but I'm not going to single out this one place in which there are atrocities being committed.
Yeah.
Because God forbid someone doesn't buy a pair of my knickers. You know what I mean? Like it's.
And also it was like, you can say nothing if you want. Yeah. I don't condone that either, but I think free everybody is worse. Like, I've been at like a few events this year where there's been people in the audience when something else is going on and people have been shouting out free Palestine and the whoever's on stage has ignored it. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do either, but like free everybody is, and it just comes back to this thing again. It's like, you're a lawyer. You're not dumb. You're not like, you can't use the excuse of like, oh, I'm just a young influencer and like I didn't know what to say on this, so I said free everybody. It's like your whole brand has been that you're really smart as well as hot. And like, so why are you saying something as stupid as that? And like, I think as well, people aren't buying the excuse of like, oh, I'm afraid to weigh in either way. I'm not educated on the subject, whatever. Because it's like, at this rate, posting something on your Instagram that could be wrong and getting a bit of flack in relation to what's going on is just not a big fucking deal. Like, so what? If someone, I understand it can be really hard to like feel attacked online and, you know, whatever. But in relation to people who are having their limbs blown off, like babies who are being orphaned and losing their entire family, it's not that big a deal. Like, you know, you'll learn something and you can deepen your knowledge on the subject and just get more involved. I just think that's just not an excuse anymore. to be like, I don't know about the subject, especially if you have influence like that. Or look, if you want to choose to like go along and continue to not say anything, fine, but you are going to lose, like, you're going to lose fans. People want their celebrities to show that they care about stuff, or show that they would like go out on a limb or risk looking stupid, to just show that they have a bit of fucking compassion or that they care. Because like fans want to feel cared about as well. Like if you are the kind of person who has that like relationship with celebrities where you feel like you're mates with them on some level, you want to see that they care about something. And I don't think that's a healthy relationship to have either, by the way. But if you are that person, you want to see that they care. So it's like people are just done with them.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. What do you think they have to lose at this point? Because we've already highlighted the fact they're inordinately wealthy.
Yeah.
Like they are wealthy. Like they could never earn a red cent for the rest of their time on earth and they would be fine unless they are very superfluous spenders, which maybe they are. Like they're well able to spend money, I'm sure, but like they're fucking cute enough as well that I'm sure they would be absolutely grand. And the thing is, like, if they did come out and say something, I don't even think it's a case of that they would never earn money again. They would, like, by the simple fact of, like, someone will still continue to pay for interviews, even if there was a quote-unquote massive fallout, which I personally don't believe. There would be, maybe I'm naive in saying that, but anyway, in your opinion, what is it that they think they have to lose by not saying anything about any of this?
Yeah. I don't even know if they're thinking that logically, because I think they're really scrambling at the moment.
Okay.
And I think they're in panic mode because
what makes you say that?
Just some of the things like Kim putting North up to that fucking Lion King performance, and like there's like a bit of chat online that she did that on purpose, knowing that North would do badly. If anyone didn't see this, she pulled some strings to get North cast in some massive production of The Lion King.
I think it was at the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah,
so like not Broadway, but like a big enough show. Like
yeah, like tickets were insane. Like I think some people paid like $2,000 for their tickets. Like I know you and me both listen to a lot of Celebrity Memoir Book Club. You know what these child stars go through to get like their whole lives, and like I don't think that's right either. But like for North to just swan in, she didn't wear the right costume, she didn't know the choreography, she can't sing, the list goes on, blah blah blah. And some people are saying like Kim organized that knowing that North would be slated so that there'd be a storyline for like the next season of the Kardashians. And like I would say none of them are above like sacrificing each other in that way. Like we saw it so many times with Chloe for like to have a storyline for whatever. But yeah, so stuff like that is why I think they're maybe not. I'd say they're scrambling from being at their absolute peak fame, influence and money wise. Like for when they were starting the Kardashian news series, I feel like they felt like they were untouchable, and that like everything they did, they were kind of like what Taylor Swift is now, like, you know, at the very, very peak of their fame and power. And, you know, what goes up must come down. So I'm sure they think, yeah, we'll lose money, we'll lose our lifestyle, we'll lose our power and our influence and being the most important people when we walk into a room. And we watched their whole journey on Keeping Up trying to get there. So we know that that is the most important thing to them. So I'd say it's a bit of everything that they're willing to lose, or that they're worried they'll lose.
Because that was the thing, I feel like with the new iteration of the Kardashians as in the show, I think initially there was an idea that, oh, it's a streaming show, they're going to have way more freedom, like way more liberties, we're going to get even closer than ever to them. When in reality it was actually, oh no, like this is a new shell. Like you were actually much closer to them on E than you were ever going to be on Hulu or Disney Plus, because again, they've come on as executive producers. They were at the peak. So at this point, it was them deciding, okay, we're closing the door, not realising that then would like alienate people who were there for the gossip, were there for the personal narratives, stuff like that. It's just all seemed to have backfired. But I do think the North theory makes sense because it counteracts that argument, because you have the whole thing of, North talking about how hard it is growing up being famous and being a famous child, which I'm going to again stress here, I don't doubt that's very hard. I don't envy her. I wouldn't want to be in her position. My child will never be famous ever. But it's kind of it's even like Kendall seems to be hanging around with Bad Bunny again. I'm like, now that you say it, I'm like, they are really floundering. Like, is there any way back for them, do you think, or no?
I don't know. Like, I mean, I just don't think what they once were. I think there's no longer a place in the world for that. Not to be dramatic, but I just don't think there's a market for it. I don't think people care about that kind of stuff anymore, en masse. Like, I mean, I think what's happening with Taylor Swift right now, that's got to come down at some point as well. Like, you know, people can't care that intensely for that long unless you're like the super fan, which is like a smaller cohort. Like, I just don't think anything that's that intense and anyone who's wielding that much power, I don't think it lasts forever. So I'm sure, like there'll always be a place for them. If there's any way back, I'd say people could be a bit sick of them. It's like, we've seen you being messy, which we loved. We've seen you being really curated and just alien robots and so fake and unrelatable. I don't know. Yeah, like maybe there is, but I just don't know. I don't know what it is.
I think and I'm using royal we generally, I'm not like the flap culture listener, I'm not trying to speak for you, but whoever you are, wherever you are. But I think with the likes of, I feel like we're willing to give artists a pass in some way for certain things because they're obviously contributing art and like, Jesus, I'm not trying to get, if anyone's listening to the podcast, you understand that like culture is high and low and everything in between, and there's value in everything. But like, it's hard to compare a body of like musical, film, poetry, comedy, whatever the fuck work, like art, to what the Kardashians make and do when essentially their vehicles are like now products. Like obviously initially it was like, yes, okay, they were contributing like comedy and entertainment with Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Yeah.
But now it's like, you've the Kardashians, which as we've already mentioned, is like this sanitized reality like it's content, like it's content in the worst sense of the world. And then they're all of their own individual lines, like you mentioned Lemmy, which is Courtney's supplement fucking brand, like all, like, you know what I mean, like that's you can't compare that to, and I think that's why people are more sick of them in comparison to an artist or an actor who maybe has also been a little bit quiet or maybe not using choice words.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. No, that's very true. And like, I think as well, sadly for a lot of us, like the golden age of reality TV is gone. We're never going to see again what we saw in like those early seasons of Love Island, like girls up doing full cowboy on top in the shared bedroom, like
Bring it back.
Chloe
so
being
much.
like on her way into prison for getting a DUI. It's not just the Kardashians that like, it's not going to be like that for anymore. It's for all reality TV. Like people are too careful to like, it's just not like that anymore. So it's like, people are starting to lose interest, you know?
Like, I wonder, will it just be a thing of like the brands take centre stage and they fade into the background? I kind of feel like that's happening with Skims, because as much as people are sick of Kim Kardashian, angry at her, apathetic towards her, the Skims, they remain so clever, and whether it's her, a group of people in a boardroom, whatever, they remain so clever in who they're choosing as their spokespeople for Skims that anytime those campaigns drop, there is like a buzz around them.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that is just, because again, I would know a lot of people who maybe they don't engage with their Kardashians, maybe wouldn't even say that they like or are a fan of Kim, but now Skims has become such a separate thing that they're buying it and will probably continue to buy it because they like the product. I've never tried it. I'm sure it is good. I'm not trying it.
No,
I know I will end up being one of those people and I don't want to be respectful.
Oh God, yeah. No, but like, the marketing for Skims is incredible. And like the fact that they have Nicola Coughlan now is a bit mad. Like one of the, on that level of celebrity who's been so outspoken about it. I mean, I'm surprised that she agreed to do it, that is a bit like, what's going on? But the
There are
fact,
a lot of questions about whether, like, when did she sign up to do it?
yeah,
Which I'm kind of willing to give her the benefit of the doubt on, but like, it gets hard then. But then it is also like, did Kim is this Kim's way of trying to show solidarity in a roundabout way? Because it's like, here's a girlie who's speaking out.
yeah,
Here she is
yeah.
in my knickers.
Exactly.
Love her. Woo!
Exactly. And like, just when like the Kardashian, their new like body preference of this, like bringing back in like this stick thin style, and like they can obviously see that they're being critiqued for that online. They get a bigger girl into like model Skims, whatever. So yeah, it's like multi levels for like getting Nicola Coughlan in. Yeah, maybe that is her way of supporting Palestine, which is gas, but you know, possibly. But yeah, like the marketing for Skims is incredible. They're all, like, when they got the girls from the White Lotus in, you know, you know, it's very clever. And like,
that's what I think it is more than anything, just for apps. And I don't think this is her trying to be like, I think she's cute enough. I think it was less about how Nicola's an activist. It's Bridgerton. Like,
she's the it girl.
Yeah,
she is
she's the it girl
right now. Yeah. And like, this was another thing that I've seen in my many marketing TikToks, that like a celebrity brand should, first of all, like for it to have longevity, it shouldn't be named after the celebrity, because like if they're caught up in a scandal or if they grow less popular, it's going to flop, which is what we think is happening now with Kylie Cosmetics. It's like no one cares anymore, and there's too much competition for it to, you know,
stand out.
So that's like, you know, the likes of like Rare Beauty, Rhode, Fenty. You know, people buy those forgetting that they're even really associated. Like, you know,
that's very true.
I didn't obviously come up with that. The man who's marketing masters on TikTok did. But I'm like, so maybe that's why with Skims as well. I mean, obviously Skims is Kim, but like, I'm sure there are some people who forget about that and are just like, no, it makes me look snatched, so that's why I buy it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Maybe that's why Chloe's been successful quietly successful for so long with Good American.
Good American, yeah.
You know,
Chloe, like, I honestly think she could, like, the portrayal of her could be another reason for their downfall, because if you watched any of like season 1 of the Kardashians, she's so clearly mentally unwell and just not enjoying any part of being on camera. And I know like Courtney's spoken out about not liking camera, and like Kendall kind of takes a back seat, but I think it's different for Chloe because she has been so often given up as the sacrifice. Like all her ins and outs with Tristan, it's always been like the main storyline. It's been the main storyline while she's literally been in labor giving birth. Like, I think like the show and the family have like done her dirty more than anyone. And I think like subconsciously that was a reason for me why I was like, I don't feel comfortable watching this. Like, she is miserable. She like is really clearly like very anxious this whole time, and it's like I feel awful watching this. So I think that could be another reason, but it's been less discussed.
Yeah.
But just personally.
Yeah. Will the show ever end?
You hope so, for everyone's sake.
Yeah.
For their own sake. Like, if you want to just do this like curated version of yourself and not lay all your life out, which power to you, then just end the fucking show. And I know, yeah. I would hope so.
I would hope so too. It's I don't think there's any I think they'll always exist, obviously, and I think they will when you get this famous, it's hard to, you never go back to being really like Z-list unless you, I don't know, commit a really bad crime or something, and even then you become infamous for committing a crime, shall we say? I don't know why my brain immediately went there, but anyway.
I know, but we love the celebs who've committed a crime.
Crimes. But yeah, I think like when you're hearing the diehards be like, I'm over it, I can't engage in any way because it's not good for my conscience, then like, but I just wonder, are they ever gonna, I don't know, like
disappear completely?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do compare them to the royals a lot. Like, I feel like they'll always be there, but like people's patience and tolerance for them is waning. And it'll like maybe it'll sometimes be like, remember them, or like remember the hold they had on us.
Yeah.
But yeah, one last thing about their lifestyle and like, oh, will they ever lose enough money that it will actually affect them? I think because they've been living such extravagant lifestyles, it is starting to catch up on them. Your outgoings every month, it's fucking insane. Kylie, I was watching a few TikToks on her. She has $80 million worth of property. She has her $79 million private jet. Of course, I mean, we all have to have one of those.
Absolutely,
but like
yeah.
so she's had a house up for sale that she originally had up for $21.9 million. She took it down, like relisted it again at 20 million. Now it's been taken down again, put back up again at I think like 17.9, which doesn't sound like maybe that much when you're talking in like multi-millions, but you don't do that if you're grand, if you're
No.
flush. And like I think it's because they live such extravagant lifestyles that it is going to catch up on them.
Yeah.
You can't have those kind of outgoings.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. So
But then I wonder, could we see them just doing more, but like different reality TV? But they, like, that's where it's going to get hard for them because they just won't want to relinquish the control because they haven't been. But then it's like, okay, well, like, something has to give then. You
exactly. It's kind of like, you know, in Titanic when like Rose's mom is like, do you want to see me working as a seamstress? And it's like, do you know what? Yeah, I wouldn't mind too much. It wouldn't be a big deal.
Actually,
but it's like, I can't go from being the top 5 elite in the world to being like normal, having a normal job. So I think that's what they're really afraid of. They're afraid of being embarrassed as well.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's already happening though, girls. As you've,
girls,
as you've very plainly laid out. This is very interesting. I'm feeling very intellectual now.
Me too. And I'm like, thank you, Kardashians, for being a vehicle for this. But I think they are a real, literal, tangible representation of the fall of capitalism.
Yeah.
They're like Marie Antoinette or like the whatever that Russian royal family were with Anastasia and stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's a real like, whoa, I can pinpoint that is directly they're the poster boy of capitalism.
Yeah.
And everyone's over it.
Yeah.
It's mad.
That's for sure. Fiona, this has been great.
Thanks
so much for dropping back again. Where can people find you should they want to?
I'm on Instagram and everywhere at Fiona Frawley. I'm in Cherry Comedy in Whelan's every other Monday. You can find me there. I'll be at the Paddy Power Comedy Festival. Tickets for that, information on that is on my Instagram. And I'll be doing my solo show in Whelan's in October of 2024. So please buy tickets to that.
I have to get to that one because I missed the last two.
Oh,
I'll be there.
oh girl.
I'll be there. Where's it on? Whelan's?
Whelan's. And I'll hopefully be doing a tour in the new year. We'll see.
Stunning.
We'll see.
Keep us posted.
Thanks.
Fiona Frawley, thank you so much for joining us once again on Flop Culture.
Thank you.